All right, ready, judges? Time. The 3rd of May, 2024, Busan, Korea. Today is the final of the World Barista Championship. I'm standing on stage amongst the best baristas in the world, waiting for announcements. I'm smiling, but void of emotion, feeling the weight of every single word about to be spoken. Have I done enough to become the next World Barista Champion? The results are called, and I've just missed out. I'm instantly sad, disappointed, and confused. Were all those hours spent training worth it? But while standing there, consumed by emotions, I was abruptly lifted off the ground by a person I'd never met. This was Jonathan Gasker, the person who produced one of the coffees that I served on stage. He hugged me tighter than I'd ever been hugged before, with tears streaming down his face. While I was feeling a wave of negative emotions, this man was overjoyed. He was the happiest person in the room. Not because his coffee almost won the WBC, but because his coffee deserved to be. This represented his country, his family, years of hard work and sacrifice it took to get his coffee on stage. Now, Jonathan reminded me of something that I had lost sight of. The coffee is about people, human connections, and not just results. Now, barista competition has pushed me beyond what I thought coffee could ever be. But the more time I spent focused on the result, the more disconnected from my responsibilities I became. Now, we all have these tools that make amazing coffee, but the most important is our voice. Now, whether it's on stage or in the cafe, it's our responsibility to represent everyone, our responsibility to share the value in coffee, and our responsibility to the message that we send the industry. Judges, I'm going to be sharing entries out of my journal from the last 12 months. These entries have changed my perception on coffee and helped me understand my responsibilities as a barista competitor. And you'll be able to follow along with those diaries in front of you. So feel free to break eye contact at any stage to take a look. Now today, I'm representing 2 coffee producers, Jonathan Gasker of Finca Zaza and Jamison Savage of Finca Deborah. I was lucky enough to visit both coffee producers this year to see not just how amazing their farms are, but how amazing they are as people. And I'll be starting with your espresso course. And I'm serving Jamison's phenomenal nitrogen macerated geisha, grown on his farm, Finca Deborah, from the Volcan region of Panama, 1,900 meters above sea level. Now, Jamison fermented this coffee for 50 hours in a tank flushed with nitrogen. This eliminates oxygen and provides a beautiful, juicy texture. He continues to flush the tank with nitrogen at specific intervals, contributing to those beautiful citrus qualities in the cup. And finally, finishing with 20 days on raised beds and dried to an 11% moisture content. So judges, when you're ready, if you could please write these tasty notes down for the espresso course. Of navel orange, yellow peach, and Earl Grey tea. It's going to have a medium weight, juicy texture, and a lingering tea-like finish. I'm using a recipe of 20 in, 47 out, in 28 seconds. Now for my next diary entry, the 5th of March, 2025. Today, I visited Jamison Savage, and after a long drive, I arrived at Finca Deborah, deep in the jungles of Panama. It was stunning. We started in the processing area, where Jamison poured some fresh cherries out to dry, and the aroma of jasmine filled the air. Could already tell these coffees were going to be unbelievable. After lunch, we went for a walk around the farm, but I couldn't help but notice some damaged trees. Jamison explained this is due to recent rains. Some cherries had split, and he dramatically lost harvest. These same rains caused landslides, where he lost trees and topsoil, meaning he can't plant on this land again, and his farm has become smaller. Now, if this wasn't bad enough, Jamison explained he lost an entire farm years prior, with similar extreme rain events. Now, I knew coffee production was hard, but spending this time with Jamison made me realise how fragile coffee production can be. My appreciation for him grew, and I truly understood the value of his coffee. Now, judges, I'll be waving your espresso today, so if you could please assess the crema just before I do. Thank you. Now, Jamison's coffee is valuable, not for the price tag, but for the years of hard work, dedication, and many failures it took to get right. It's a culmination of years and years of dedication. Now, some of the value in our industry is tangible, like the coffee machine, the autocone, and this wave machine I'm using to bind molecules together to enhance the texture. But what we don't see is the producer's sacrifices, the late night processing, the weather events, and the impact a volatile seed price has on producers. Now, we are responsible for sharing this value to the industry and our customers, because without value, we lose connection, and coffee simply becomes a transaction. So judges, I'll please ask that you stir your espressos 10 times. Please take 2 sips from the thin side of the cup, which will be facing you, and please enjoy the value of Jamison's hard work. Now, those pink cups are for your dirty spoons. Enjoy. Okay, judges, now for the milk course. And I'm serving Jonathan's beautiful natural papaya, grown on his farm, Finca Zaza, from Wheeler, Colombia, just outside the small town of Bruselas, at 1,600 metres above sea level. Now, Jonathan chose to oxidize his coffee for 60 hours, right after picking for complex acidity, followed by 160-hour anaerobic fermentation, contributing to those beautiful cherry notes in the cup. And finally, finishing with 16 days on raised beds, opposed to mechanical drying for increased flavour intensity. So judges, when you're ready, I'll please ask that you write these tasting notes down for the milk course of cherry, caramel, and malted chocolate. I'm using a recipe of 21 in, 35 out in 24 seconds. Now let me take you back to the 8th of August, 2024. I've just returned home from my first visit to Finca Zaza, and it was an amazing experience. Not just for the coffee, but my newfound admiration for Jonathan, his partner Alejandra, and their family. We spent a lot of time on the farm, where we saw their dedication to the coffee, trees, and land. It was obvious why their coffee was so good. Now, Jonathan showed me a section of the farm where he chopped down some high-yielding catimor trees, the backbone of his family's harvest, to plant some geisha. Now, this was a risk, removing reliable trees for a variety that potentially might not work. There was something else I noticed on the farm. There was brand new bioreactors in the processing area, where the old fermentation tubs were tucked around the corner. I asked Jonathan about this, and he told me that he's worried about what I might think, that his farm might not be as advanced as other producers in the area. He bought them just because I was coming. Now, I was shook. Was this the message I was sending? Because Jonathan didn't have expensive equipment, did this make him think his farm wasn't good enough? Jonathan made me realise what we say and do as competitors is noticed. New varietals, crazy processing methods are always interesting to try. But are we going to buy these coffees year after year? We can change what we like with the seasons. But for the producer, it's a risk that not only affects them now, but years and generations into the future. So we need to make sure we're sending a clear and responsible message back to producers. So today, I'm sending a message back to Jonathan that his coffee is amazing. Not for those new bioreactors, not because it's the next new thing, but because of his dedication, hard work that's transferred through to the cup. Now I'm pairing Jonathan's beautiful coffee with 90% full cream milk and 10% cryodesiccated oat milk for increased texture and sweetness. Now we roasted this on a UG22 for extra strength to cut through this rich and creamy milk. So judges, please enjoy, and I'll be back in just a moment. Okay, enjoy. Okay, judges, when you're ready, if you could please follow me around to the signature course table. All the way around the end, thank you. All right. Now, voice and actions are more important than ever right now. With such volatility in the industry, it's important that we fulfill our role as coffee professionals, and that means representing everyone. No one more important than the producer. So today, for the signature course, I'm representing Jonathan by adding 2 espressos of his natural papaya, extracted to the same numbers as the milk course. But it's more than just that. This is the life work of a 4th generation farmer who has strived his whole life to elevate his family's coffee quality and is responsible for taking them from commercial blenders to some of the best specialty coffee in the world. This represents Jonathan. So to highlight Jonathan's traditional fermentation methods, not those new bioreactors, I'll be adding 5 mils of a honey vinegar, using 2 of the oldest fermentation methods known to man, mead and vinegar. To create this, I've taken honey from Jonathan's farm and created a wild fermentation over 2 weeks, using 5 parts water to 1 part honey, creating mead. Then adding 1% acetic acid to create vinegar, eliminating alcohol. By adding this to the drink, it works with those cherry notes of Jonathan's coffee to give me flavors of, and if you could please write these down, raspberry kombucha and guava. Now I'm also representing Jamison today by adding 2 espressos of his washed geisha, extracted to the same numbers as the espresso course. This represents 2 decades of determination to produce the best coffee he can, by not only continuing to learn and grow, but by pushing through diversity and challenges where many would have found it easy to give up. This represents Jamison. So to highlight the value of Jamison's coffee, I'm adding 200 mils of a cascara and passion fruit distillate. I've taken cascara, a byproduct of production, and passion fruit husks, normally a waste product, and created value. To create this, I've placed equal parts into the rotary evaporator, applied a 50-degree heat under vacuum pressure, and collected the distillate. Then, I carbonate that liquid to 60 psi to achieve an effervescent texture. Now, by adding this to the drink, it works with those citrus qualities of Jamison's coffee to give us flavors of, and if you could please write these down, pink grapefruit and mango. Judges, I'll be serving this at 4 degrees today for flavor clarity. Now please ask if you can wait until I call time to assess this drink. When I do, feel free to take as many sips as you like. Now it's been a difficult time for the coffee industry over the last 12 months, with volatility in the C price and difficult conditions for producers. But we, as baristas, not only have the ability to affect positive change, but the responsibility. We need to make sure we share the value of these amazing coffees to our customers. Be conscious of the message that we're sending back to the producer, and represent these amazing farmers who are putting their blood, sweat, and tears into every single harvest. Because if we don't, who will? Judges, I have one last diary entry before I call time today. 19th of October, 2025, Milan, Italy. Today is a WBC. I'm nervous, but more than anything, excited, because this time feels different. I can't wait to get on stage and share this message. Thank you to Jamison for this amazing coffee and all his hard work. Thank you to Jonathan and Alejandra, who have given me the inspiration to compete this year and change my perception of what it means to be a barista competitor, and have made me a better person. They've taught me that it's not just about winning a trophy, but being an ambassador for this amazing industry we all love. I know they're watching, they're right over there. I hope I make them proud. Dom.
And time, thank you very much, Mr. Jack Simpson, representing Australia.